My name is Geoff Zuber and I run the aerospace practice here at Holocentric. In the last presentation, I talked about some of the issues that we see in the aviation industry and specifically in implementing MRO systems, and at the high level, how we address this. In this presentation, I'll talk in more detail about how we create the operational framework and the business management system, including the implementation of new MRO software. As an organisation, you have strategy set by the board and the executive management. This is implemented through business lines with KPIs and usually siloed responsibility, and the detailed work that actually takes place supported by systems and data. The operating framework needs to encompass this, and importantly, the toolset you choose also needs to cater for the different needs at different parts of the organisational structure and critically use different language. For instance, the language of the executive is different to somebody modelling process. All need to be catered for in the operating framework. This is why there are 7 solution areas making up the single integrated Holocentric modeler product. You also need the confidence that if you start in one area with the model, it will grow with you. This is catered for by having a framework linked to the 7 solution areas. The result is an integrated operational framework or business management system. So how does this model-based operating framework work? As I said earlier, when you're implementing projects, typically you look from the strategic decision perspective down. Work, however, happens across the organisation, traverses business lines and divisions, uses multiple systems and data sources. Your people do different things in their daily work patterns, different manual procedures, different pieces of IT, and remember, many will use both legacy and new IT systems. Their process journeys will be quite different for the manual and IT supported procedures and the data they use. Research shows that IT systems and MRO systems are no different, only cater at best for 60% of all of the procedures and processes. The balance are manual. You need to satisfy yourself and the regulator that work is compliant with policies and regulations. Your model-based operating framework, your business management system, needs to support this. Importantly, the model needs to be published easily, using different parts of the repository for different users. Ensures changes are tracked, recorded, auditable and republished. Your new MRO software implementation is only part of that transition program, but along with staff resistance, can be the hardest part. Why is it then so hard, and why do so many programs either fail or underdeliver? What do we see in typical practice? Let me talk about the typical program in a little bit of detail. You set out to deliver your program and have a series of stages. They usually have these sorts of phases, give or take a few. Typically, they run late and over budget, which means training, change material and business as usual spend is under, so you don't provision your organisation as effectively as you can. A big part of the problem we see is multiple technologies that don't talk to each other and rely on people to understand how information flows from one to the next. For instance, we see complex Visio maps of process that are used to create Excel spreadsheets of requirements. We've seen requirement spreadsheets of 3,000 to 8,000 rows and up to 150 columns. How is anyone going to keep that information in sync, let alone relate this to process maps? Of course it doesn't happen. The result is inaccuracy of requirements and budget blowouts. So, what's the typical fix? We'll put a PMO in place with another set of tools, more people who need to communicate. Yes, and of course someone to blame. The holocentric approach is based on accelerated outcomes with high levels of integrity. You get both worlds. The first difference is that multiple tools are replaced by 2, Holocentric Modeler and Holocentric Modelpedia. Our approach provides the structure for getting the job done effectively and efficiently. It's in this combination of consultants, our approach and our products that bring the speed and the accuracy in these delivery programs. I often get asked, why do as-is modelling? It's the to-be that's important. There are 4 very good reasons. The first is you're capturing that organic knowledge before it walks out the door. The SMEs are telling you what they do on a day-to-day basis as you create the as-is model. You're converting that into organisational knowledge. You begin the continuous improvement progress at the beginning. Your SMEs often have the best visibility of process times and particularly process hold-ups. You capture that information at the time. We then run our analysis program, our analysis engine, against the as-is model and highlight quickly and automatically a large proportion of the process inefficiencies, which prepares you for very, very accurate and quick to-be workshops. Finally, the favourite question of company executives, particularly of project leadership: show me the benefits. If you've captured the as-is process, the inefficiency, lack of compliance or compliance issues, and the like in the as-is model, it's easy to compare these to the to-be model. A huge proportion of the work is done for you, and it's accurate, unlike some of the documents that we've been asked to review. Because you've already answered many of the to-be questions in the as-is modelling phase, the to-be workshops build models very quickly and with high levels of detail, typically in half the time that we see. They include in the models processes tied to regulations and policies, importantly, detailed use cases with work instruction detail, not just IT steps. This enables requirements, tenders, test scenarios, training and change material, and business as usual publishing to be created largely automatically or almost automatically from the model. The net result is you build an operational framework in the model enabling enormous cost saving without compromising integrity. Things like regulatory audits, risk registers, change impacts are simply different views of the model. Audits go from this familiar and at time-consuming process to the click of a button to prepare the bulk of information needed, and you know the information is accurate and has integrity. Remember this slide? 61% down to procedures or the lack of people being able to get to procedures and a breakdown in compliance. What are some of the savings and benefits from building your operational framework and business management system with Holocentric? I've got a few examples here, but of course there are many. Let me start with requirements and use some examples. At one particular airline, we were presented with a spreadsheet of 6,000 requirements, created in the traditional way in an Excel spreadsheet. We took the Excel spreadsheet and attached it to the process model that we created in Holocentric. We threw 1,500 away because they were duplicates, triplicates. We couldn't match them to any particular process step. Each one of these requirements, in the airline's view, had cost them $1,100 to prepare. So there were 1,500 at $1,100. That's $1.65 million that they had wasted. Training's another good one. A similar organisation, large transformation program, implementation of an MRO system. They had initially 24 people building training material as part of the program, not unusual. Using Holocentric Modeler to create that training material, they reduced the team to 3 people. And in talking to the senior training manager, he said that he does in 1 day what used to take him 2 weeks using traditional methods. Change, a key one. Because the model knows what you used to do in the as-is processes and what you do in the new processes, what people did and what they do, what IT they used to use, what IT they do use, that delta between the two states gives you most of the change material. One of the results is that we see a reduction in non-compliance, typically of something like 1/3 less than it was before the program. Importantly, safety becomes a consequence of the operating model, not a handmatic activity all on its own. Having created the operating framework in Holocentric Modeler, you then simply publish it in Holocentric Modelpedia for business as usual. Modelpedia publishes the content specifically for users based on their role in the organisation. Modelpedia gives you your information when you need it, in the form that you need it. Older personnel may want document-based views. Younger personnel are likely to want modern wiki views. The issue is to communicate the right information in a form that allows people to do their job by being able to get to the right information easily and quickly. So, why are our customers who use the lifecycle in conjunction with Holocentric Modeler and Modelpedia so pleased with their results? They regularly deliver their programs within the budget and time and meet the original business objectives. The model takes the burden of compliance and makes it a much simpler, less expensive and more reliable activity. Non-conformance reduces dramatically because people can easily find the right information, and that information is attestably reliable. Information via Modelpedia is published to people based on their job and their role. They get only what they need, when they need it, and in a form they're familiar with. That is the advantage of the Holocentric Business Management Framework. If you'd like to see more or talk to myself or one of my consultants, we'd be delighted if you'd make contact.